What's up, y'all? Welcome to Spirit-Led TV, where we're aiming for life-changing peace. And today we are talking about temptations. Now, once again, if you have not subscribed to the YouTube channel, please go ahead and do that and hit the notification bell so you can be informed whenever we have another video. And as always, put a thumbs up or a comment, or you can share the video with anybody that you know, friends, family, enemies, thus forth, says the Lord. All right, so we're going to jump right into it. We're going to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. And it reads, "No temptation has overtaken you, as is common to men. But God is faithful. It will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to bear it." 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. So we're looking at this like, what does this mean? What are you saying to us? In order for us to actually get 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, it kind of extends back to the actual chapter itself. And if we look at it, Paul is giving examples of the Old Testament. The children of Israel were in the wilderness, and the initial children of Israel, didn't make it to see the promised land. And we have to ask why. Why did that not happen? The reason is because of self-discipline. We're always complaining. They were having sexual immorality. There was a lot of idolatry. So there are certain things that God didn't allow them to see based on how they were acting, right? And so what Paul is saying is that through all our temptations, God always provides a way of escape. So we're going to look into this even further, and we're going to really dig in, all right? And during this video, I'm reflecting on how I can become better when dealing with temptations. And hopefully this is some encouragement for you when you're battling temptations as well. So let's get into it. Let's make this clear. Temptations is not a sin. Now, it's not a sin to have temptations. It's a sin when we fall into temptations. Having temptations is normal. Everybody's been tempted before. Even Jesus was tempted when he was talking to Satan after his 40-day fasting, right? The temptations may be the same, but the results may differ. When I say that, that means our time that we put into the temptation could be better used if we use that time to put in our purpose. And in a result of putting it into our purpose, we can better uplift ourselves. We can better engage in what's really important instead of pouring into something that's a temporary thing, right? We have this character building that we have a chance to be in line with when we focus our attention to purpose rather than temptation. And that can really help us grow in a lot of areas that we probably wouldn't be able to grow in if we weren't focused on our purpose. So focusing on temptations only kind of like delays us from where we actually really want to be and from where God really wants us to be. Everybody has temptations. Everybody has temptations. Even temptations have temptations. You don't believe me? Watch the movie. You'll see. From the less fortunate to the rich. It doesn't matter what age. It doesn't matter what social economics, what ethnicity. Everybody has temptations, and we all struggle with it. If it's not one thing, it's another. So once again, we all battle temptations. Relax. To say that I never have to improve is a complete lie. Like, we always are in a process of improving. That's why we're still here. I think if we truly are done, we ain't got nothing else to do in life, purpose is completed and fulfilled, then you can go ahead and wrap it up. You can go ahead and call it a day. Stick a fork in it. We're done. The deal is that we always have something to get better at. We're always improving oneself. And coming along with that, with temptations, we are continually striving to do better in life. Whether if it's an addiction, a bad habit, just learning how to say thank you, pride, learning what not to say. Even though you may think it, you don't necessarily always have to say it all the time. Okay? Have a filter. Chill. Relax. There's 3 categories. Okay? 3 that rounds off every single sin that we come across. Every single temptation that we come across. You ready? Here we go. The pride of life, lust of the eyes, and lust of the flesh. These are the things that Jesus was battling Satan after his 40 days of fasting in the wilderness. When wrestling with temptations, we should also know that the temptation is a surface problem, but an internal issue. That means there's something that's covering up what's really going on in our lives. It's like a habit, and it's like a way of living, and it's like computerized in our minds to where we don't even have to think twice about it. It just becomes part of our nature, and that may not be a good thing. Actually, it's not a good thing. I think so many of us sometimes can use that as survival in a sense, or certain attributes that we take from that as far as a temptation goes, or a sin, and we kind of say this has made me to who I am now. You know what I mean? Like it may have been reasonable in a past season, because maybe there's something that you had to do that you felt like to survive. But when God becomes your everything, there's certain things that he expects us to grow from and grow out of. And so I think sometimes we can kind of be so comfortable in a past state or past season that when we go to another season, we want to carry those same habits with us. And God's saying, no, man, you can't carry those. Like, don't you realize that your shoulders are getting heavier, that your feet are dragging? Like, you gotta loosen some of that luggage so you can go to the next season. So, and this has everything to do with temptations, because it's shaping us, it's molding us. So the real question is probably, how do I prepare to face temptations? Or how do I prepare to face temptations in the midst of? So the obvious thing is that we could pray, we could read, and that's good. We can meditate and reflect on what God has said to us, his promises, what he's done in the past, what he's doing in the present. All those things are good, you know what I mean? And those are definitely key essentials. However, we definitely want to keep it real, and we definitely want to take some practical steps as well. Accountability is really good too. I mean, having someone that you can be transparent to and be real about your issues is definitely key. Have a good circle around you, and have somebody or have a group of people that not necessarily like babysitting you, but it's like, you know that they have your best interests at heart, and you can share stuff with them that you probably wouldn't share with other people. So accountability is good too. But here we go with the practical steps, y'all. Practical. Why did I say practical? Because you have to practice it. If you didn't know, you gotta practice. If you don't practice, you won't win the game. If you don't win the game, then you ain't going to the championship. If you ain't going to the championship, you ain't getting that bonus that you promised your family with the extra car and the extra house and the mansion on the side, and going to Disney World and Disneyland and just going all around the place, all around the world. It ain't gonna happen. So we have to start with the practical. One thing that really helped me was creating boundaries, right? And there's a book called Boundaries. It is phenomenal, by the way. And it teaches us how to create borders. To create barriers to where it's so difficult to fall into temptations, because in order to do that, you have to actually go out of your way and literally, intentionally do whatever it is that you were tempted to do. So creating boundaries, for example, knowing yourself. Okay, you got to know what triggers your temptations. You got to know what triggers the mindset of, oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to give into my flesh. Oh, I got to do this because it makes me feel good. You have to realize what triggers you, who triggers you, and why they trigger you. Okay, make sure you spend some time and doing your research and doing just like an evaluation of your own self. You know, that's something I think all mature people definitely need to do. All right, we all got to be accountable to that, and we all have to make sure that we know what kind of like makes us tick. Knowing yourself, right? You don't have to be strong for anybody. If there's certain movies that you can't watch, cool. If there are certain people that you don't really feel comfortable around because you feel like they're going to cause you to relapse into somebody that you don't want them to see, then you got to know yourself. It's not a shame. Don't be shameful about knowing your triggers, because we all have to know that. That's just helping us becoming a better person, a better believer, and a better follower. You know what I mean? For instance, if you know a problem with having sex, then you know if you're over your partner's house or partner's apartment, like you shouldn't be staying there longer than you should. Because sometimes we can't trust ourselves. It don't take but a split second to just fall. So we just got to be really careful about making decisions how to avoid getting in that predicament in the first place. So sometimes I think of being in the midst of a temptation like a scary movie, right? So you're in a scary movie and you know you always have that person that just stands still. And you know what happens to that person that stands still? They gonna get tore up. They dying, all right? And I just think of it kind of like this.
Jim, come on, man. Why you standing there, bro? Don't listen, Jim. I'm telling you, bro. Let's go, bro. We gotta go.
Are these flowers for me?
Jim. Nah. Wait, I thought we were
friends. One thing you gotta know is that standing still is not gonna work. It's that you might as well just be walking backwards, okay? I totally get it. Like you may be in a position like, you know what? I don't want to leave, but I know I have to. It's like, what do? You just stay in there because part of us wants to be engulfed in whatever it is we're entertaining. But then there's a spirit part of us that's like, if you don't get your little, if you don't get out of here, this ain't gonna be good. You gotta get out. It's like you have one of those, angel on one shoulder and the devil on one shoulder, and they're like going back and forth. Looking for the escape is what we need to do. Paul was talking about discipline. If you read in chapter 10 and then even in chapter 9, he was talking about self-discipline and how we as believers should really grasp and develop in our discipline. And so that's one of the key points to overcoming temptations, is to have discipline to move forward and to come closer to God and connect with God in a way that we are getting stronger in the areas that we're weak in, because that's the only way we can really grow. When it talks about not putting on us more than we can bear, you can kind of look at it as building weights or weightlifting, you know what I mean? Like God puts a certain amount of resistance for us, and of course it's going to be hard to lift up a little bit. Like we have to have some kind of strengthening in our overcoming, or strengthening in our character. And so don't necessarily look at it as a negative, but look at these opportunities as character builders, because that's what they are. They're to help us distinguish and acclimate a better us, a better version of us. And so I would encourage you to not be discouraged when you fall, but just know that we can always do better and that God gives us another chance. And with that said, being a believer doesn't mean that we have a pass to do whatever we want. That is not what that means, okay? There is grace, there is mercy. He shows us love, absolutely. However, there is a certain responsibility that we have, and there's a certain responsibility of stewardship, a certain responsibility of being knowledgeable and knowing what we're doing. And so I just challenge you, if you're struggling with something, I want you to dig deep. When those times come where you feel like just giving in, think about the sacrifice that Jesus wants us to make. He says that he will provide a way of escape for us. Just think about that. If he's providing a way of escape, obviously he doesn't want us to be there, He doesn't want us to indulge in that. So he loves us so much that he's continually giving us an opportunity to come to him. So don't look past those opportunities. Don't look past the exit sign. Don't just keep driving. If you have a hobby, focus on the hobby. A positive, healthy hobby, obviously. If you have something that you like to do something productive in that moment, to where you can take your mind off of whatever it is that's tempting you. I think that's a real key point as well, to have something, either if it's reading or praying, whatever it is, as long as it's something, rather than focusing your energy in something that is toxic. So that's just my little spiel. If you do like the video, make sure you like the video, comment, share, subscribe, click the notification bell, please, for Spirit-Led TV. And I just hope that you are growing in this season. I wish nothing but the best for you. And as we are growing together, let's change the world one day at a time, all right?